Okay, Algebra 1, Part 1. This is day 3 notes on factoring. Day 3 kind of jumps right into factoring the trinomial. It's the process of reversing FOIL. All right, we're going to call it unfoiling, actually. Some of you probably don't remember how to FOIL, though. So before we do anything on the notes, I'm going to do a quick review. Say I give you two sets of parentheses, such as x plus 4 times x minus 2. All right, if I said multiply these out. All right, it's called double distribute. Some of you remember that. Easiest way to do it, though, I would say is FOIL. All right, FOIL, first, outer, inner, last is what it stands for. You're going to multiply the first term in each set of parentheses first. So x times x is x squared. Multiply the outside terms. All right, if you're looking at this, the outside terms would be here. So x times a negative 2 is negative 2x. The I stands for inside terms, right? As you're looking at these, the inside terms, the plus 4 and the x, that's plus 4x when you multiply them together. The last terms you see in each set of parentheses is the plus 4 and the minus 2. Multiply them. That's 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. All right, the signs are important. Be careful. Usually you have like terms in here, not always, but usually. Right there, some like terms. Minus 2x plus 4x, that is x squared plus 2x minus 8. All right, so we had two binomials. Using FOIL, we multiplied them all together, and we now have a trinomial. All right, there's my trinomial. Day 3 and day 4 actually are all the same thing. We're gonna go backwards. We're gonna start with this trinomial. We're gonna factor it into two binomials. It's tricky at first, but it does get easier with lots of practice. All right, so we're gonna go backwards from this process. Let's go back to the actual notes. All right, there's different ways to think about this. The calculator may help you. All right, first one, x squared plus 6x plus 5. All right, this is a trinomial. I know it's going to factor into two binomials when we're all done. All right, day 1 and 2 is all about GCF. If you actually look at this, there is no GCF between all of these terms. X squared plus 6x plus 5, no GCF in all those. All right, you should always check for a GCF. There isn't one. You want to realize A is a trinomial. It should factor into two binomials. All right. You'll see as we do all these, all right, we're undoing FOIL. We're unfoiling. So that means something times something here gave me x squared. Well, that's got to be x times x. All right, almost all of these on day 3 is going to be x squared or whatever variable is in that question. The last term, right? Well, skip the middle term for a second. Go to the last term. The last term, we get by multiplying the last two things together. This is a 5. So there's different ways to do this. Off on the side, I would say 5. What are my factors of 5? All right, I need factors of 5 that are going to add and subtract. Or let's say it's going to be adding to 6. All right, you're going to do that for every question. We'll see in a minute. So I need factors of 5 that add to 6. Well, the only factors of 5 are 1 and 5. Do they add to 6? 1 plus 5 is 6. That works. All right, so I'm going to put a 1. Doesn't matter which one, as long as your signs are right. And a 5 here. All right, you'll see in a minute, we actually do want to take the signs into account as well. All right, I know positive 1 plus a positive 5 gives me that positive 6. You actually just factored that out. All right, you could check this. FOIL all this out, you will get this back. Those are the same things written differently. All right, factoring doesn't change any value, just changes the way it looks. Let's try number 3, a little bit more complicated. Some bigger numbers, x squared minus 11x plus 24. All right, there is no GCF. It's a trinomial. It's going to factor into two binomials. So two sets of parentheses. What times what gives me x squared? Well, again, that's x times x. Skip to your last term, 24. The last thing in each set of parentheses multiplied to give me 24. All right, but also my outside-inside terms gave me this negative 11x. So off on the side, I need factors of 24. All right, two numbers that multiply to be 24. All right, that would add to give me a negative 11x. You can almost read this backwards. Factors of 24 that add to give me a negative 11x. Let's just start thinking of factors of 24. That's 1 and 24. 2 and 12. This one has lots of factors. 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Again, if you can't get that list from your head, remember, use your calculator. All right. Go to your y equals, clear out whatever is in there. This number is 24. Do 24 divided by x. It'll give you a list of all the factors of 24. Go to your table. All right. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, all the way down, 4 and 6. Don't worry about the decimals, not going to help you. That's all repeats, all right? So any of these pairs add to be a negative 11. Somebody's saying there's no way it's a negative 11, but I know 3 and 8 gives me an 11. All right, could I stick a negative sign on both of these? Negative 3 and negative 8? Negative times negative is still positive 24. Negative 3 minus 8 is negative 11. So you have to work with your signs sometimes. All right, so this is going to work. This is x minus 3, right? The minus 3 here, the minus 8 is here. This is x minus 8. Again, you could FOIL this out. It's the same thing written differently. Number 5, a little bit different. X squared minus 12x minus 13. I actually have a negative here now instead of positive like the last two. It's no GCF. It's a trinomial. It's going to factor. I think everything factors on day 3. Could be wrong. Number 5, x and x gives me x squared. I need factors of 13 that subtract to give me a negative 12x. 13, no, there's not the only factors that give you 13. The only factors of 13 are even negative 13 in this case. Negative 13 is only going to be negative 1 and 13. All right, you could say it's also 1 and negative 13, whichever one. All right, work with your signs. Which of these would get me a negative 12? Negative 1 plus 13 or 1 minus 13? Hopefully you're thinking 1 minus 13 is negative 12. So I'm going to use this pair, right? Be careful with your signs. So one of them is a 1 or a positive 1. The other is a negative 13. Some of you learned rules last year on how to do the signs. If you can do that, that's fine. Use your rules. I always wait to do my signs at the end or as I'm doing this process. All right, again, check your signs. I know positive times a negative is negative. I know 1x and negative 13x is negative 12x. Don't be afraid to write more down. All right, this is your answer, but don't be afraid to show some work on the side. All right, and check your answer. Let's do a couple more. Number 7, x squared minus 7x minus 18. Again, there's no GCF. It's a trinomial, gonna factor again. X and x gives me x squared. I need factors of 18 that subtract to give me a negative 7x. So factors of negative 18. No, that's 1 and 18. We'll worry about the signs in a second. 2 and 9. 3 and 6. I think that's everything for 18. Can I get a 7 out of any of those? I can, right? 2 and 9. Can I get a negative 7? Even better. Right? I know if they multiply, I might have to get a negative 18. So one of these has got to be negative. If the 7 here is negative, I want the bigger one to be negative. 9's bigger. So I'm going to say this is a plus 2 minus 9. X plus 2, x minus 9. Check your signs, make sure it works out. All right. Positive times negative is negative. 2x minus 9x. Remember those outside, inside terms always actually go together. That will get you the negative 7x. That one works. Number 9 looks a little bit different. Different than the rest. X squared minus 36. There's no GCF. It's only 2 terms long, though. It's a binomial already. What if I rewrote this as x squared plus 0x minus 36? Same thing, all right? You don't need the 0x in there, all right? But it helps for factoring this way, maybe. Same process, right? We're actually going to factor this out. It's going to become 2 sets, or 2 binomials multiplied together. I know x times x is x squared. I need factors of 36 that subtract to be 0. All right, so you can put negative 36 if you want. You could go through all the factors if you want, but if I'm going to get a 0, they got to be the same. What number times itself is 36? It's got to be 6. All right, 1 positive, 1 negative. So if I put positive 6 and a negative 6, check it, FOIL it, x squared. 6x minus 6x is 0x, or it gone, one or the other. Positive times negative is negative 36. It works. There's your answer. It takes practice. It's not easy. All right. 11, same idea. X squared minus 16, kind of just crossed it out. Again, it's like a 0x in the middle. Factors of 16 that will cancel out to be a 0x. Well, it's going to be a 4. X plus 4, x minus 4. Similar to number 9. Try the evens at least. See how you do. When you get to delta math, there's a thing called the X game on there. It's just lots of practice with this factoring, actually. Instead of making a list, they call it an X game. Like if you go back to number 3, let's say, we had a 24 here. All right, 24 and 11. It's good practice. They're gonna call, there's nothing to do with this, but if they'd have this, they're gonna put a 24 at the top, little time sign. They're gonna put an 11, in this case a negative 11 at the bottom with a plus sign. All right, they mean give me two numbers that multiply by 24, add or subtract to be negative 11. All right, we already did the answer. We did the work a little bit differently. It's just a practice thing though. Right, I know 8 times 3 is 24, so I'm gonna put 8 here, a 3 here. I need to get a negative 11 though. 8 and 3 is positive 11. I need a negative 8 minus 3. So when you see something called the X game, that's what they're talking about. Actually good practice. You get good at that. Lots of it's mental math. If you don't have a calculator, it may be challenging. Don't be afraid to use your calculator. All right? Something to keep track of for delta math. Questions? Let me know.